really excited to host the Fireside Chat today with the WebPT Global Leadership Team. We have Andrea, the CEO of WebPT. We have Uday, Chief Product and Technology Officer at WebPT. We have our Managing Director and Country Manager, Rohit Sachanti, heading WebPT India, and myself, Sandeep, founder and CEO of Summit and as a company. So we'll dive into a discussion. So first question to you, Andrea, with a slightly larger business perspective, as the CEO of WebPT, how do you see the current state of the rehab therapy industry? And how do you stay competitive, given that these days it's a technology-led industry? So what's your perspective?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for this fire chat. I'm really happy to be here, and WebPT as well as excited for the work that we've done together. The industry has been under a number of challenges for several years, and those challenges have not changed in 2025, and they will continue for a while. The most important challenge that the industry faces is the recruiting challenge, to finding good therapists to perform the service, and then once you find them, to retain them is very difficult because the industry is suffering from burnout. It's a volume game that they play lots of hours, and because they get paid on reimbursement by how much time you put on the work, right, on the job. So oftentimes people end up working hard, being pushed a lot, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, working with patients and doing documentation, and they burn out and they leave the industry and they never come back, right? So the combination of the schools not being able to graduate enough PTs as well as people leaving the industry is a big burden on the industry itself. The other, I want to say, major challenge in the industry face is the regulations. And obviously, being in healthcare, there is a continuous change in regulation, et cetera. But also the payers, which a lot of our customers, relies on the reimbursement, they change and makes it harder and harder every year to get paid for the work you do, or the rates are going down, et cetera. So this landscape is not just only time consuming and all the mechanics that exist to, collect payment on the day of services and then collect payments from the payers and then collect the payment for the patient that is still owned to the clinic. So all of this take times away the clinics from doing what they want to do, which is render the service for the patients, right? And lastly, I want to change, and there is a number of others, but I want to mention the continuous evolution of technology is also a challenge. So EHR which is what we do, they're becoming increasingly more sophisticated because the needs increase, right? That on the market, and it's the learning curve for the clinics is very high, right? So every year there's more things to learn. For us, that we're developing this software. Every year there is new compliances that we need to do, new regulation that the software needs to do, new CPT codes that needs to be added. So there is, even if you didn't want to add any new feature functionality, you still have to develop, right? Because of all this kind of waves of requirements that comes down. So these are the challenges. There are a bunch of others, but you can see from these challenges that the role of software technology is huge, right? Because software can help solve a lot of the problems around and put times back in the hands of the providers that then can render the service and fix the patient.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrea. So, I was recently talking to a CEO of a fintech company, and I was asking him a question, and he said, first of all, to just correct you, we call ourselves as a tech fin company and not a fintech company, right? I feel that health tech or healthcare is going through a lot of that as well, very similar to fintech organizations, where it has become technology-enabled businesses and driving change. So from your perspective, and probably Uday can chime in as well, is how do you balance these expectations of engaging patients, improving care, at the same time growing the practices or members, as you call, in terms of engaging them, keeping them to grow with all the challenges you mentioned in the first part. So what role does technology play in unifying these?
I'll give you an example, and then I'll let Uday answer as well. But one of the challenges, which I didn't mention, but is also very important, is to attract and retain patient. One of the big problems is when somebody has an issue, he starts going to therapy, and then as they start feeling a little bit better, they stop, and they don't finish. And by doing that, they create a problem for themselves, because you think you're feeling better, but you have not solved the problem. That's problem number one. And number two, obviously, is has a financial impact on the industry, right? Because you don't finish, if you are pre-approved for 10 visits and you do 5, the therapist is not going to get paid for the remainder 5, right? So it's a revenue loss. So technology, as you can imagine, especially in the age of mobile computing, et cetera, can serve a really profound impact on finding the patient, acquiring the patient, but also keep it engaged throughout the plan of care, right? To make sure that they show up, at their visit every single time, and reduce cancellation. Cancellation for a clinic is a big problem, right? People don't showing up. Sometimes they don't show up at the last minute. So not only you lose money on that patient, but also you lose the opportunity to find another patient that is on a wait list, for example, that's been waiting to get care and is not getting it because it's too last minute, right? So all of this technology can have a profound impact.
Yeah. I think, like Andrea said, right, and, the big focus for us is how do we make our members successful, right? If they're successful, then obviously that's good for us. And I come from fintech, as you probably know, right? And it's the same model there too. So there's 3 things, like, Andrea was saying about. One, the biggest one is, if you look at the business, right, the most important person is a clinician, right? How do you make them more productive? How do you make sure that they're not wasting time, doing things that are really not treating a patient, right? So you want to make sure that your systems are enabling them to spend more time with the patients and less time doing, paperwork or, stuff that they need to do from a billing and insurance, all those kinds of perspective, right? So that's a big part of what we try to do from our platform perspective. The second one, which, as Andrea said, is, how do we get, more business to them, right? How do you attract more patients? How do you provide digital capabilities for patients to engage with the company and, keep them engaged, and, so on and so forth. And the last one is, what can we do in terms of ensuring that we automate the back-end processes so it becomes much more, from a revenue perspective, these clinics are doing a good job in terms of managing and generating their revenue. So those are the 3 areas. The big focus is obviously on the clinician side, and we're also doing stuff. We have platforms and systems on the patient side, and then obviously on the back end of the billing and the invoicing side. So
Awesome. And I think I've been guilty of dropping my sessions halfway through, and I think all of us do. I think when we get better, actually, we just start to kind of. What it was, I think, and I've heard this before, having spoken to, or I've been pseudo part of this journey since the last 2 years. What role has GCC played in and how important it is to the WebPT ecosystem? And the place is thriving. It's right now brimming with a lot of associates. But how critical is this to your overall growth story?
Yeah, for us, we from the very beginning we thought opening our GCC will be a great opportunity and a huge opportunity. First of all, there is macro trends in healthcare. They're global. They're not just related to the U.S., right? For example, the aging populations, like the decline in birth rates, right? All of this, what's happening is increasing the musculoskeletal issues that we have, right? Because people are getting older. It's a population, right? So for every 1% of increase of patient, in PT, you're opening up a $3.6 billion in the industry of the market, new market for every 1%. So it's a global trend. So it was the right time for us to look at our company and really leverage the talent that exists on a global level and not just within the United States, right? And obviously, with the access of talent that we have here in Hyderabad and in India in general, in the healthcare space, it's like a no-brainer for us to consider this as a destination. And the roll-ups that something that's played is huge, right? Like obviously when you go and operate in a different country for the first time, there is a set of challenges that you need to overcome, right? From the very basic like interaction with the local public administration, getting permits, etc., attracting talents, right? Kind of navigate through the differences, right? I actually moved to the States as an immigrant, and I have a really high sense of how easy it is to fall into the trap to thinking when you go to a different country that things works the same as your own country, and that they don't. There is the little small variation that mess you up, right? So I think we should not assume things when you go in a different country and assume that works similarly to where you are. And so leaning on an organization that can help us navigate these challenges is like fundamental.
Beautifully put.
Yeah, and I just want to add there, Sandeep, that opening a GCC to me is absolutely a no-brainer, given that GCCs are kind of contributing 1% to India's GDP, and a lot of estimates suggest that this contribution is going to go up to almost 3.5%, right, with over $131 billion of revenue by around 2030. I think more than that, there are 3-4 things that I would like to talk about. I think most important is talent. I mean, this country has huge talent, right? The average age in this country is 27, 29 years, right? There are a lot of good colleges, schools, which are producing every year, great number of, workforce, right? So I think that's immense. Cost effectiveness, everyone talks about, that was the basis on which this industry thrived. However, I would like to believe that it does no longer, but it is definitely, yes, one of the very important factors. Coupled with that, I think the government policies, I think they have played a tremendous role in shaping this industry, where government has come up with various incentives, and they're working extremely hard to get good skill sets amongst all the graduates which are coming out, right? So I think those are 3-4 things that I can think about, which suggests that for every multinational organization opening a GCC is definitely not a no-brainer sign.
So do you want to talk about also, Rohit, that if I look at revenue cycle management, given that plays a big part of your setup here in India, is also a very mature industry, and can you also speak about Hyderabad as an ecosystem? Because having come from Bangalore, whenever I step out of the airport, I feel, am I in India? It's so do you want to talk about revenue cycle management, Hyderabad as an ecosystem, and also over the last 2 years, how do you think you're a great place to work and probably one of the best scores in year one, the fastest to probably get to the great place to work? So do you want to speak about a little bit of the culture side as well?
Sure. Thank you so much. I think first and foremost, I would not like to say that we are an RCM organization. I have my CPTO saying me, right? And I'm sure he doesn't want to portray us as an RCM organization. We are part of it for sure. Correct. But we are definitely a product company, right? And services is just a part of it, right? I know we have a large workforce on the RCM side doing a lot of operations work, but I would like to see this organization, and that's the plan, grow up more doing a lot of technology work. And that's the vision of I'm sure, Andrea and Uday, right? Now, having said that, Hyderabad is definitely a place to be in, because I'm not from Hyderabad, but definitely what I learned is that the second industry which flourished in Hyderabad after finance was definitely RCM. And if you look around, right, we have so many number of RCM servicing companies here that we have a huge talent pool, right? So definitely a great place to be here. WebPT, I'm proud of the culture. I think we would like to associate ourselves with the parent organization and all the values. We have been displaying those day in, day out. And some of the things that we do reflect of it. And as you rightly said, right, we are a great place to work certified organization. Our employees have ranked us extremely high on it. We have scored. Being a very new organization, in the first year itself, we got scored almost 83% in most of the parameters, right? So that speaks of the fact that, we have laid down an extremely good culture in the organization. And hopefully, that will help us also attract a lot of good talent.
Awesome. Uday, just extending that part where, and I know you're a product company, market leader in rehab therapy, engaging with rehab clinics across. From a technology perspective, where do you think the GCC is today, and what keeps you awake at night?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think both Andrea and Rohit mentioned this, right? I mean, and you probably know this, because at Summit you guys do this all, like day in, day out. At one point in time, GCCs used to be a cost play, a labor arbitrage. Okay, it's no longer that. We never look at it like that. This is about having the right talent for us to be able to execute our strategy and grow the organization, and then have an impact on the rehab therapy business in the United States, right? So that's what this is about. And we have done a lot of investment here from that talent perspective, and we want to grow the talent in obviously Hyderabad. I'm from Hyderabad, so I can talk about Hyderabad. As earlier when we were chatting, you mentioned this is the fastest growing location from GCC's perspective. We feel that we have the right partners, right location, right talent for us to be able to execute on our strategy and continue growing.
Awesome. Thank you. So one last question for each one of you. What's the best part about the GCC? One word which comes to your mind, Andrea.
To me, is the access to talent is great. But I should say also one thing, in regard to specific to WebPT, I feel like this is a great sized GCC that we open, right? So it's not too big. I remember when I started my career, I wanted to go to work for the biggest company I could find, right? Until you realize that you're just like a number over, among thousands and thousands of people, right? And this is just a place that is right size, is big enough, but it's not too big that a person can come here and really develop a career, interact with leaders, have access to things that you wouldn't have if you're just like in a building with another 20,000 people.
I'm going to tweak the question a little bit. What's the best part about being a center head?
Well, the ability to work with extremely talented people. I think that's, and every day I learn a lot from them. I have over 2.5 decades of experience, but to me it seems as if I'm learning every day. I'm learning from these two gentlemen. So for me, coming to work every day, and I'm happy that I'm working out of the office and not being at home. I think that's another part. So yeah, as I said, right, it's this continuous learning which helps me as well.
And this is all not scripted, the last part, and I just wanted to put you on the spot too, that you've been from Hyderabad. How do you think at some point in time you would want to leverage the academia, the college, the graduates, the students to drive the technology agenda at WebPT?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think that we were talking about that, right? So the talent pool exists beyond just corporate offices. Right? I mean, it exists in all the universities and all the institutions, IITs, and all these kinds of stuff. There's a lot of energy in this country, right? Every time I come here, I go fully energized. I'm like, we have to be able to take advantage of that energy that's there, of the talent that's here. And to your point, one of the ways to do that is to partner with these educational institutes in doing R&D work and doing cutting edge research into, hey, how can we do things differently than what we've been doing in the past? Identify some partners that we can do some proof of concepts, right, and make the right investment so that we can, develop some really good IP here. So
Awesome.
yeah.
No, thank you. And
So, Sandeep, can I ask a question? Sorry, I mean, you asked us a lot of questions. I hope we get the opportunity to ask you one question. Yes. So, you have helped us, kind of set up this place, right? Would you like to share your experiences of how did it go?
But you put me on the spot now. So, first of all, I think I owe a lot of the success which we've seen as Summit to WebPT. I think the leadership believed in us when it was just me and Rajshri who started Summit 2 years back. And I've slept at this office when it was under construction. Right from walking from the metro station to the office, saying that it takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds because that's what we wanted, saying that the employee should use public transport to come here, to welcoming the 100th employee. We did 100 in 100 days. So I think there's so many fond memories, but Rohit, to be honest, all of the success was because of the learnings of when we started WebPT and our association with Warburg Fincus, given WebPT is a part of the larger private equity portfolio, has been enormous. So that's a great point for me to thank all of you as well, because you trusted in us when no one else. And it's been a great journey. And now with Answer, we've got wings to grow further. So really happy about our association, and I think this has been a fabulous conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.